What's going on, man? How are you
Oh,
doing?
not much. How are you, sir?
Oh, not too bad. Just my crazy Friday nights, but some reason I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest with you.
Well, it's all you're used to right now, wouldn't you say?
I probably for the past almost the past year now, this has become a standard. I mean, I haven't been doing Techbot after dark for a year, but being Saturday night, saying a lot of times, I get people like unfortunately, I was talking to Andrew from the Luau earlier today, and he's out here in Orlando right now. They're getting ready to head back home tomorrow, but he's like, yeah, hey, I'm gonna be down at the Springs on Friday night. I'm like, dude, I got lives. I can't. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to meet up with him this time. But it's all right. I get a lot of people come in town. Sometimes I can meet up with people. Sometimes I can't. I mean, it's hard. I think living in a tourist location because everyone's like, I'm on vacation and let's meet up. But it's like, well, I still got to live a normal life.
Right, right. They expect you to drop everything and
Yeah.
run right over and show them around.
And especially during the week. During the week, man, I get really busy between everything I do. I mean, I work late nights, so between some daytime side stuff I do and trying to get naps in, I mean, it gets really really busy in my
Try to fit in
world.
those old man naps. Is that what?
Yeah, and I've thought about getting off of night shifts.
Mhm.
But I think in the location I work right now, and I don't tell everyone where I work, but I like it because I'm not around certain types of people. If you know what I mean, I know that's very undescriptive, but being a YouTuber, I don't like to get into telling people where I work. But yeah, there's certain reasons why I still do it, but might have some options to change up pretty soon. So we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? Life is always changing. Life's always a possibility of many changes. As I used to have a great mentor of mine always tell me that the one great constant in life is change.
Very true. That's absolutely true. And sometimes, you think, oh, this sounds good, and maybe I'll do this. And then when you do it, just like that wasn't so bad after all. I kind of miss, working these different shifts or working these different times that maybe people aren't used to. So
But
you never really know.
I've always been a risk taker at that anyways, where I've taken dives on things where that's kind of turned out to be really, really great. And I've taken dives where I look back in the year and go, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. But
Well,
hey,
you
that's
can't let those deter you. That's the thing. You
no.
make a mistake the last time, you think, well, next time it's going to be the same thing, so I won't want to try. You just can't do it. You got to keep trying.
Exactly. You got to stop and you got to learn from all those experiences, good, bad, or ugly.
Right.
You got to learn from all of the experience and go, well, okay, it didn't work that time. What could have been different to change that and go from there? And maybe the next time it becomes a little different if the opportunity comes about. So I think that's the great thing about everything. I just plus the other good part is if you stay busy, then you don't have to worry about other things like some people do, like watching the news. I mean, that's for the birds.
It's super stressful. There's no doubt. I watch I pretty much watch YouTube all the time, but I get these news feeds that pop up on my YouTube, and it just kind of gets stuck in there. And sometimes I'll make the mistake of clicking over there and watching something, and all it does is make me mad. So just like, do I really need to watch something that's going to make me mad? Much rather watch some YouTubers.
I watch a lot of YouTube. That's our typical when we put on the TV downstairs, we put on YouTube. I watch a lot of more, I mean, maybe not educational stuff, but stuff to, make you think. The other weird thing is I don't know what has gotten into me lately, but I have gotten like sucked in. Have you ever watched those and I don't think there's any new ones right now because there hasn't been a lot around with COVID and everything, but they have like these like Asian marketplace food stuff. Dude, I don't know what it is. It's like fascinating, and especially Japanese vending machines. I don't know what it is with Japanese vending machines, but we need to have those damn things over here.
I'm very
so
cool.
Jealous.
They are very cool. It's just like you can't imagine what they pretty much put everything in a vending machine.
Yeah.
It's shocking. I mean, some of the stuff probably shouldn't be in a vending machine, but it is still very cool.
They have straight up stores where it's just vending machine restaurants. Right. I'm like, good Lord, this is this is awesome. Why can't we? Why? And then I started to think, why can't we do this in the U.S.? I started to think of the great line of, why can't we have any nice things? Because everybody likes to ruin everything.
They do. They absolutely do. Well, that was one of the things I told Ken is you get a lot of really cool, Ken Titus, you have a lot of really cool stuff. You should go and do some videos because a lot of people can't do the kind of videos like that. And he's done some in a couple of shopping centers that are pretty cool. But yeah, that would be really cool to check out.
I'm fascinated by them, and every time now they show up on my feed and stuff like that, I'm absolutely fascinated by them. I have no idea why. And my wife, I was watching one the other day because there's no talking,
right?
And I'm not into that whole what is it? Somebody told me before it's called mukbang, where you just see people eat. I'm not really so much into that, but it's the coolness of what they put into vending machines,
right?
And how big of a thing it is out there.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's amazing. And it's a completely different culture than you can imagine. I think sometimes we get caught up in this thing where, we think everybody eats the same kind of food that we do, does the same kind of thing, basically, that we're doing. And when in reality, you see some of these videos, it's really interesting to see how different people live and, how cool it is in some cases, for sure.
Speaking of, we get our good friend Andrew from the Luau, who is over at Disney Springs. Of course, tradition we've started with Wayne Tech is any super chat, super stickers, you get a beer chug. So cheers, thank you, buddy.
I just have water. I'm on the wagon.
I don't mind beer. I like beer, but like I said, I saw Wayne. He's like, oh, you getting tipsy from beer? I'm like, dude, it takes a lot more than that. I'm a Guinness drinker, so it takes a lot more than that. But Andrew, hey, I hope you guys are enjoying Disney Springs out there. I know the Wi-Fi can get really rough during when there's a lot of people out there, so definitely enjoy yourself. He says he's all good with the water. But let's hit up some of the people in here. Of course, we had Bees popping it, coming in. What's going on? We got my buddy Flipcake. How you doing? Him and I have been meaning to connect for a little while. It's just
a good guy.
It's a back and forth thing. We've got, of course, the Luau in here. We got Dead Zone Citizen. What's happening, bud? Appreciate you stopping by. But yeah, so I mean, like you said, I got to talk to the Luau a little bit earlier today. They've been out here. He's he realizes he came in the beginning of the week, and it was okay. It was cool to Florida standards, mind you, and that's like 60 degrees. So it was
freezing
for us. It's a little chilly. And then towards the last 2 days, I mean, the temperature and it became a little bit more muggy and stuff like that. So we've gotten some rain in. So he was telling me, he's like, yeah, we're so happy. We got everything in. We got all the rides we wanted to, especially in Star Wars and stuff like that. He's like, but I can't imagine after these past 2 days how you guys can do it in July and August. I said, you know what? How locals do it in July and August? We don't go to the parks in July and August.
You're the smart ones.
It's too damn hot because you got to think when you're in the parks, especially before COVID, nonetheless, you're in the parks, you got that many people. Everybody's body heat, especially from the heat, is radiating around that many people. So the inside the parks is about 10 degrees hotter than outside of the parks.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. You can always plan for it to be about 10 degrees hotter when you're inside the park. So that we just learned that come pretty much, mid June till probably about September. I mean, most locals just stay away from the parks. It's too hot.
That's smart. I mean, I remember back when, of course, now with COVID, I'm sure there's a limit to how many people can get in the park. But back in the olden days, I remember going on the 4th of July. My dad was like, I think we should go to the Disney on the 4th of July. I was like, I think it's pretty hot there. I mean, oh, no, it'll be fine. It was the hottest weather I'd ever experienced in my entire life. Mm-hmm. It was horrible. And people you couldn't move without other people moving around you.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, everything was a line to the bathroom, line to get a drink. I mean, you couldn't do anything while you were in the park anyway. It was a really unpleasant experience.
Well, I always tell people too nowadays that, if you come to Disney, you plan a Disney trip, don't plan to go right back to work the next day because you need to take what I call a vacation from your vacation. People don't realize how much walking you do out here in these parks. So you're it's not like that, cruise ship, relax by the pool type vacation. You can make it that way, but of course, for like, I think my family and I, we've done vacations where we've gone to a resort at Disney. We didn't really go to the parks because, again, for us, I've literally gone. I mean, my wife and I have gone. We've had our annual passes. We've literally have walked into the park, walked down Main Street or something, and looked. He's like, you know what? It's too busy. We're out of here. We literally walked in and walked out. It's just the way it is. But I think being a local, you can see it much differently than somebody coming into town and they want to just jam in as much stuff as possible. You definitely got to take a break after your vacation. So it's definitely cool. Oh, so I guess he's done at Disney Springs at the hotel, enjoying some Florida. Definitely, it's warm out there. Hit up the pools. I mean, come on, where else are you going to hit pools up in March right now in U.S.? So
I have a pool here, and it's still got the cover on it, I assure you. So
out here, like I said, literally, I can probably say, as I was joking with my wife earlier, but I can say that it's usually above 70 degrees around here 50 weeks out of the year. And that's being generous, because I would usually say about 51 weeks out of the year. It's like that. So, and then Flipcake, I told you that Mexican food is going to knock you up, but you know what? I'm right there with you. I love me some Mexican food. I think you could put a flip-flop in a tortilla and it'd still be good. So I love me some Mexican food, so I think it's well worth the sacrifice.
I like Mexican food too, but I'm not sure about the flip-flop thing. I've been to a couple places. I went to San Antonio one time, and we got some Mexican food, and they're like, you need to go to this one place. It's authentic Mexican food. And it was horrible. Oh my God, was it so horrible? I don't know if I just don't like authentic things, which is probably the case, because I think Taco Bell is authentic Mexican food, when in reality we know that it isn't. But it's like, it was very dry. Yeah. It was very, I don't know. It seemed to miss things that I missed.
I thought it was a little bit different. I mean, when I was in California, when I lived in California, in Bay Area, California, you found authentic Mexican places out there. I've also gone to, of course, Mexico and been eating some taco stands, stuff like that. But of course, the flavors, nobody can match the flavors of something authentic at all. I mean, the flavors, the spices and stuff they do it's so much better. But what you're used to, and say like going to a Taco Bell, you get your tacos, you get this and that. You go to an authentic Mexican place, and you're looking and going, what? I mean, the only thing you recognize is tacos.
Right.
Maybe, and then, but for me, you got to find like, the, I can't even get the words in my head right now, but there's so many really cool items, and it's really good when you go to real authentic places. The only area I can say that I will actually take the side areas, not to say it's anything bad, but sometimes Asian food,
right.
There's something about the Americanized Chinese food that I appreciate more. Because I went to a buddy of mine's wedding many years ago, and he had this, I think it may have been like a Korean place or something like that, and it was like a 10-course meal. And there was a couple items I was like, dude, I'm not eating. Like there was a sea cucumber, and this thing was gelatinous and gross, and they had like shark fin soup, and I'm like, no, this stuff, no. And it was authentic as authentic could get, but no, I'll take my Americanized, teriyaki.
Well, it's also confusing because everything's obviously in Chinese, and I barely speak English. So when we went to San Francisco, and we went to Chinatown in San Francisco, and my wife was bound to her, we need to go and get some Chinese food in Chinatown. And I was like, well, first of all, I don't know where that is. So we found our way into town. And then we're like, well, let's see if we can find some. But of course, everybody there, it's like you're in China, because everybody there speaks Chinese, and either they speak English and they pretend like they don't, or they just don't. So we found this place. We went in there and we sat down, and like, I'm looking at the menu. Of course, why am I looking at the menu? I can't tell what anything is. So they came with a little cart, and they just kept putting things on my table. It's just like I didn't even have to point. They just pick it up, put it in front of me, so I would eat it, and then slide it aside. And they come and put another thing in front of me, because they must think this dumb American, I'm just going to keep sticking in front. So I kept eating things, and they were not good. And I was just like, I'd eat one bite. I was like, oh, this is not good. I'll push it forward. And then they bring you something else. And at the end, I was like, I don't even know if we have enough money to pay for all this. I don't know what this is, but it wasn't cheap. And I said, well, I hope you got the authentic experience because this was not great. So
yeah, you get so used to like a standardized version that when you have sometimes it's a back and forth. It's a 50-50. Either you have the real deal and you're like, okay, this is the stuff, or you have you have the real deal and you're like, oh, okay, I'll take the fake. I'll take the fake all day. But I do agree with you, Luau. Disney with kids is work. I mean, I remember when we first moved out here to Orlando, it's just me and my wife. Cool thing. And once we have kids, it's work, especially nowadays, especially with COVID and everything. Man, I don't know how many times I tell my daughter, stop touching stuff. So it's hard. But and I guess Flipcake is they're planning to do a trip when their kids get older. Yeah, definitely. I mean, everyone does differences with Disney and stuff like that. So I see all kinds coming out here. I enjoy living in a tourist town, to be honest with you. But it does sometimes expectations. It's not even expectations. I would like to meet up with people, but again, I'm not on vacation. I got to live the normal life.
Right. Well, when you're in it's like the tourist place, aside from maybe a few other places in the it's the main tourist place. So it's one thing to be at a touristy area, another place to be in the touristy area, where I would think once a week you probably would get somebody that's on YouTube. Hey, I'm in the area. Can you just drop everything and meet me over here and show me around? And we go out to eat. And then the next week you got another person. I just like, look, I have to pick better friends or something. I don't want to have friends that I got to keep, keeping up with. So
I had that worse when I lived in Vegas. And I used to live in Las Vegas before I lived in Orlando. And, it's different. Like I go to the attractions out here. I love it. I enjoy it. I like the people for the most part. But Vegas, dude, it's when you work, because I work, around the casinos. I didn't work for the casinos, but I worked around them. But you didn't go near the strip when you were off of work. That was just kind of most locals knew that. But every time you have a friend come into town, you're like, okay, let's go down the strip. And, a lot of times, and in certain things, especially when you live in a tourist town, everyone's like, okay, what are we going to go do? Well, this is your vacation. This is your trip. What do you want to see? You tell me what you want to see, and I'll take you to the best place.
So you're saying you're not their tourist planner? I'm not the
planner, but like I said, you tell me, hey, I want to go see this. All right, I know the place to go take you to it. But and to me, it's like that's your vacation. I could probably sometimes if I've got a good friend and I know what type of person he is. I had good friends that visited in Vegas, and the moment I hear they're coming into town, I'm like, all right, we're going drinking. I just know which bars we're going to because that's just the type of person they are. But definitely
there's really something for everybody in Vegas. I mean, there's shows that for kids and things like that. They've really turned it into a place where you can pretty much do anything from debauchery to sort of kid shows, etc. So they really try to cover all their bases. Of course, I went to hit all the buffets. I fell completely off the wagon. I was at that time I was very skinny. And I was on a low-carb diet, and I said, well, maybe I'll just go off my low-carb diet just for a little bit to try the Rio buffet and the Bellagio buffet.
The Rio one before.
Oh, yes, that was a good one. And that pretty much killed me. Ever since then, I haven't gone back on my diet since. So,
well, see, what's happened when you worked around them, because I used to work in them and stuff like that, and it would get even worse because when you work in those, a lot of those, because they have so many employees, most of those big casinos all have what's called the EDR, which is the employee dining room. And it's a lot of the same stuff they serve in the buffet, which they're serving down in the EDR. So you got, it was free food. Every time the engineer's like, oh, you're going to come eat with us? I'm like, how are you going to turn down free food all the time? Yeah. So you kind of just go along with it. And then after a while, you kind of get to a point where you've been to enough of them. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to focus on salad. Let's just stick with that. That's good. Sorry, I had to put this comment I thought from Slush. It said, Bearded looks like George Lucas. And mind you, I'm not using all of his words, by the way.
Yeah. I have gotten that before. The last time I was in Disney, I've told this story before, and I was in the Star Wars area, and I was walking through. I had multiple people just come up to me and just like, hey, you look just like, nobody says you're George Lucas. I don't think I'm that close, But he's like, yeah, you look just like George. And at first you're like flattered. Oh, that's someone famous, to somebody that's wealthy, etc. And then you realize that George Lucas is 20 years older than I am. So it's not that flattering. It sounds flattering. It's not that flattering. He's just like, he's a heavy set older man, and I'm supposed to be flattered by that.
No, at that point, you just say, yes, I am, and it's $20 for a picture.
I was actually at a stand-up a comedy show one time, and the guy was going around the crowd picking on people, and then they like pan the light around, and then they pan it right on me. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So I got off easy. He's like, you look just like George Lucas. I was like, yeah. And he's like, you don't want to talk about it, do you? I said, no. Move along. And he's like,
I've heard that already 100 times.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But anyways, we've just gone, and I always enjoyed talking with you because we've just gone on 20 minutes of talking absolutely nothing about what our topic is today by any means.
Well, that was our topic, Las Vegas buffets. I'm sorry, I guess I missed that.
But again, you guys all know me. I love talking movies. I love movies, especially anything that has to do with Marvel. Of course, there was big news this week surrounding the Black Widow. Black Widow got pushed back again, only for a couple months. It was supposed to come out in the beginning of May after being pushed back a year. And then it got pushed back to July 9th now. However, at the same time, Disney had announced that it will be, they're not saying this for future Marvel films, but for this film, it'll be available both in the theaters on July 9th as well as Disney Plus Premiere Access, which I'm totally excited about that because, again, with having younger kids getting out to the movies, I mean, you got to think, everyone's like, well, that's $30 for Premiere Access. I just got it for was it that Raya movie? My kids absolutely love that. They've watched it multiple times, and that's a great part about it. Going to the movies is they can continue watching it multiple times. Two, you got to think for a family like me, take my family out, it's probably going to cost me $30 just to get into the movies, and it's going to probably. And we go to one of those dine-in theaters.
Right.
So, I mean, they got good food, but I mean, I still can't get out of there with anything less than $60-$70.
Yeah, sure.
On top of that, whereas we can stop by Walmart on our way up, get a bunch of popcorn and snacks, and cost me $20. So you think $50 for a movie night compared to what I would have spent going to the theaters? Yeah. Now, I don't disagree that there are particular movies. Did I have a terrific experience at Endgame going to the theaters? There is a difference of going to the theaters and getting that theater experience. There is. And I think Endgame made it even better, the fact that getting that experience. But I think everybody's different. There's maybe a lot of people that want to see the movies that don't like the theater experience because maybe they're more hermits. They don't like a lot of people.
Right. Well, I don't like a lot of people, but sometimes I'll overcome that if the movie's good enough and it's like an epic or something. I think this one would be awesome in the theater, but I think because of the circumstances, I think people are. For myself, I most likely will just pay the $30 and then charge people $5 to $10 to get in my house and make money. And ultimately, it'll work itself out. Disney, I'm just kidding. Please don't arrest me.
They got keywords out on YouTube nowadays. But no, I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think it's great. It's fantastic. I like at least being able to give the consumer the option.
Right.
I know that we've already been told that when they announced the title for the next Spider-Man movie, at the end of it, it straight up said in theaters only.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was watching like a little video, they said, I think this is the last movie they're planning on doing this. But I think plans have a tendency to change. I don't think they really know. But I think as it stands right now, this is what they're looking at.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think this is going to be the only Marvel movie that's ever going to get the premiere access. This may be the last movie that gets premiere access abilities nonetheless, because as a society with everything going on with COVID, I mean, yes, things are getting better with the vaccines coming out, but it's still going to take time. It's still going to take process. I think a lot of us, I mean, even myself, I'm hoping that it gets a lot better by the end of the year. I don't think it'll get much better until next year, unfortunately, but I think it'll start to get a little bit better by the end of the year. I think people are I mean, I'm one. I haven't got my vaccine yet, but I will. It's just my age bracket hasn't come up out here yet. We have a lot of old people. I'm sorry, we got a lot of old people in this state. They all
I
got to
got
get
my two
vaccinated.
shots, and I'm not old. Okay, it's just I'm an essential worker. I know what you were going to say. You don't need to say it. I did get my two shots, and they were rough. I got to be honest with you, they were pretty rough. That next day, oh man,
I've heard that. I've heard that a lot about the vaccine, especially the second one.
Yeah,
That's why I'm hoping when I get mine, I'm going to look for someplace that does the Johnson Johnson one because that's only one shot.
right.
So,
yeah. Well,
but
I hope that, like I said, ultimately, I think that that's what they'll probably go to for all of them eventually, because there's a lot of people that get the first shot and won't go back for the second shot. So it's not a good situation.
But like I said, I think I'm all for it. But I mean, I'm also not a greedy person to say, you know, I laugh about it, but we do. We have a lot of older people in this state, and I would rather them get it first, and I'll wait my turn.
Oh yeah,
I'm not too worried about that by any means. So we'll eventually get it, and we'll go from there. But you know, I think in time, if people keep doing this, it's going to get back to normal ability within 2 years. Things are going to get back to a normal point, and you know, but we're just gonna have to get through it right now. Fortunately, with things like the movies, I think giving people the option, I think, is the best thing at the moment. To be a certain extent, do I kind of hope for Marvel that this is the last time, even though I would like premiere access? Yes, because I also think that Marvel movies look fantastic on the theater.
yeah, I think they definitely do. But I think they'll learn something from these experiences, and they may find out this worked out really well for them. I mean, because on the ticket side for the movie, I mean, they only get a portion of it. The movie theater gets all that food and stuff like that. But for them to get the one swap, $30, they may find this works pretty good, or they may do a situation where it goes in the theater for a short period of time, and then you get premiere access like 2 weeks after it comes out in the theater. You see what I'm saying? And then have it maybe $15 or $20 for something.
Yeah,
like
that could be a definite good idea. Where instead of doing it simultaneous, you do like a theaters for like 3 or 4 weeks. It's
right.
exclusive to theaters for 3 or 4 weeks. Because and I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but the time frame it used to take from a movie being in a theater to a movie going on VHS. I mean, that was like what, a 6 to 9 month process.
Sure.
And through times of going from DVD and then to Blu-ray and then to streaming, that time frame that the movies actually averagely will sit in theaters has gotten smaller and smaller,
right,
with time. And I think that I think it's going to eventually get to a point where I think if they did it where they give the theaters the first 3 to 4 weeks and then put it into like a premiere access for another 4 weeks, and then you open it up to everybody at that point. I think that
I was sort of thinking that when at some point in the future they might have where you go to the movie theater, you could actually buy. Of course, there's no DVDs, but at the time when there were DVDs, you could actually buy the DVD right there at the theater. So you'd actually have something that you go and just to try to get something more to it, because it doesn't take that long for them to do all that type of stuff. But I think that that's more of some of the things that maybe they're going to look at is finding more ways to make money out of the movie theater other than just the movie and concessions, et cetera, because you're going to have fewer and fewer people in a theater at a time because they're making these theaters with the big seats and this leans back, and people aren't going to really want to be on top of each other the way maybe they used to. So I think they're going to try to be smart about how they do these things, making as much money as possible. So maybe they'll put some merch or something.
And I agree with Lou Al, but it is, of course, everything's always about the money when it comes to the movies, because of course they put up a lot of money to make these movies. Of course, they want to make way more back. I mean, it's profit. That's just tip basic business. Says the contracts they have with the stars and the back end deals. You got to definitely think. You got a guy like Robert Downey. During all his appearances in all the Marvel movies in the past, he had, of course. I mean, of course, there was a lot of contracts, but especially by the time Endgame came around, he made a lot more money on Endgame because he had percentage. He was getting profit percentage based off of these movies. And a lot of these big actors, in order to get these large amount of actors to be in the same movie like they do with Marvel, they do a lot more profit percentage. But I mean, you got to think, even if they go, okay, in your contract, you're getting 1.5%. I mean, what's 1.5% of $100 billion from the end game made? That's still a lot of damn money.
Well, they still need to be cautious, because sometimes, I've heard some of these actors talking about when they get a percentage, and they say that the movie company is like, well, it's not $1 billion because we had to pay these people this, and then it wasn't on gross, it was on net, and all these things, all the advertising, and they whittle and whittle and whittle away, and eventually, it's still a good amount of money, but there's always this battle back and forth of who got what, because ultimately the movie companies are going to really make the money. I mean, especially companies like Disney. I mean, they know how to make this, squeeze as much profit out of these things as possible.
Between the profit, the merchandise, I mean, they know how to push the envelope with everything. I mean, of course, we've seen out here in Orlando, especially with Frozen. I've got 2 girls, so trust me, I've seen Frozen way more than I'd ever cared to know in my life. I've got girls that walk around the house singing the stupid Frozen songs, and it drives me up the wall. But I accept that. But yeah, Disney knows how to do it, and they know how to pop it out. And again, they own nonetheless, we're talking Disney Studios alone, but they still own 2 of the biggest studios ever between LucasArts and the MCU.
Right.
Absolutely. And in recent years, the MCU, and I would say this is probably all because of the dysfunction that Lucasfilms has created for themselves since Kathleen Kennedy. To me, I as a fan and as watching a lot of this stuff, I'm sorry, but I blame a lot of LucasArts problems on Kathleen Kennedy. She's ultimately the president, and she's the one that pushed Lucas out, and she's at fault. And they're in dismay, and all the stuff that's going on is 100% something Kathleen Kennedy has pushed. So how she's still the president of that company, I mean, it dumbfounds me. It dumbfounds the fandom.
Right. Well, that's the thing. She's not a fan, and so it doesn't really matter. And apparently, neither are the people that are running Disney. I mean, as far as they like her, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that she's done anything awesome. I mean, I can't imagine that they were happy with the results from this, the sequels for Star Wars. I mean, it made money. Everything makes money for the Disney does. But I mean, it could have done so much more than what it did.
Oh yeah.
And I think they missed out on a lot of things. And now she's sort of, ruining everything she's touching when it comes to this stuff, because her focus is not on making a good quality film.
No.
And, doing something that maybe the fans would like and would rally behind. Instead, it's doing all these other social justice things.
Then on top of it, when you're going to fight a guy who's pretty much brought the Star Wars genre back from the dead in Jon Favreau, he's brought something back that the fans want. And he's a fan. And that he knows what the fans want to see, and to still fight the guy on the creative problems, it's like, at that point, if he's brought your genre back, let him do whatever the hell he wants to do.
Well, I'm sure it's jealousy. I'm sure she's probably feeling like, you want somebody to do a good job, but when you have somebody like you're a supervisor and your person under you really shines, and everyone's like, I really love that person, you're like, what about me? You know what I mean? I'm sure that's what she's thinking. I'm a star. I'm somebody special. And everyone's like, and so he's getting all the attention. And she's like, okay, that I need to get rid of this person because they're making me look bad because they look really good. As opposed to thinking it like you're making everything we're doing together really good. Because again, he's a fan and he knows what the fans want. She's not a fan. She just wants to, make a film and do all the things that she wants to do with the films. And it's disappointing, and I'm hoping that at some point, the only way these companies learn is you hit them in the wallet. It's the only way.
Oh, yeah.
Until people say, I'm not going to go watch this movie, or I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that, and that did hurt them when people started pulling the plug on Disney Plus. Now, whether or not people stuck with it. Yeah,
they definitely took notice to it, and I think that I was hoping more at the beginning of the month when they had that big stockholders meetings. I heard a lot of the big investors were pissed off with Kathleen Kennedy. I was like, dude, this is going to be the end of it. and then the stockholders meeting came and went. And it's like, why is she still there? I think as far as me being a huge Marvel fan, I am so thankful for Kevin Feige. That that Marvel has a president that's a fan first, and he wants to see he wants to see these things look as good on the picture as anybody else does. And although Disney and MCU has changed storylines and stuff like that, I mean, you look at the Infinity Wars. Infinity Wars didn't anywhere close end to how Endgame did, but you can watch Endgame go. I don't care. I don't care because that was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, they like I said, they know how to make good films, and they know what people want. And it's one thing to not really know what people want, but part two to not even care. And I think that's the problem, because people keep, every time she shows up in a video, people keep giving thumbs down and all these things.
Oh, yeah.
They keep pulling these videos down from different places because, they're just trying to protect her from getting totally embarrassed from the fans. And then she's just completely delusional. Oh, the fans love those movies. All the fans, it's just a few people, just a few loud people, and it's just not the case. And I think that's unfortunate. So,
and I'm sorry, but I think the whole, I know Wayne and I got into a little bit on our live, but I think the whole Gina Carano thing was way overblown. Sure, did she say some things that probably pissed off certain groups? I'm sure, yes, she did. But to be honest with you, I don't think what she said was that out of line, or that, I mean, maybe I kind of agree with her comments to a little bit. But I mean, it's facts. I mean, there's a lot of facts to it. And, so I'm not hating on Gina Carano. And that's the same reason why I think it's stupid that a lot of, even in Lucas Arts, are complaining about and want Rosario Dawson out from, Ahsoka. And it's like, and I've read the comments of what Rosario Dawson said, and it wasn't even that bad. And it was only commenting on her own sexuality of what her beliefs are. It's like, and just like I think I said last week into the whole cancel culture stuff. I know Slush has done some great videos on this cancel culture stuff, although with a lot more cuss words than I use.
They tell it like it is sometimes.
Exactly. But I think people just need to grow some thicker skin. I mean, I remember. I mean, how has the world changed that much from when I was a kid and growing up in the '90s? That you could see something on TV, completely make fun of something, and still go, "Yeah, that's funny. I don't care. It is what it is. That's funny." But everybody's got to get emotional about something nowadays, and they can't just turn it off. If you don't, the bottom line is, if you don't like it, don't watch it.
Right. Yeah, I think that, there's plenty of things I don't agree with. Somebody will say, I don't agree with it. That's fine. That's what, debates are for, or that's what, and you don't happen to agree, then that's fine. That doesn't, in the past, you think about the movies you used to watch. I never knew anything about any of the actors in these movies other than they made an awesome movie and I really liked them. I didn't know what type of person they were. I didn't know what their political beliefs were. And to be honest with you, I don't really care. I mean, if they're, be nice if the person, it happens to be a wonderful person, but you don't know what that person is like. But I'm just there to watch a movie. I'm just there to watch a TV show. I'm just there to be entertained and take my mind off of all the crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
But now this stuff is just like it's bringing it into it. Just like gets to a point where just like, do I even want to watch the movie? Because it's like, this has to be like real life. Why? I have a real life, and it's not that entertaining. Okay, people could follow me around with a camera all day. Be pretty darn boring. But I mean, I'm going to watch a movie to be entertained.
Well, I think the world of social media has definitely changed that entire perspective on a lot of things. Me, to be honest with you, I'm still right there with you. I really don't care and maybe that's because I don't really care what one person's perspective on something is different from mine. I mean, that's your right to think something different, good, bad, or ugly. But as far as an actor goes, I don't follow actors on Twitter. I don't follow actors on Facebook, because I don't care. I don't think I'm invested that much in them to really, want to follow and care what your opinions are. I really don't. I
Well, I
follow.
mean, you think about an actor. Their job is to play pretend. When I was a child,
Yeah.
I used to play pretend. Okay, that's their job. Why do we think they're great thinkers, or why do we think that they're really more informed than any other person on the planet? I certainly don't. I mean, just like I like Johnny Depp, but I don't really want to hear his political beliefs. Why do I care about that? I have my own. He have his, and that's fine. But I just
If
don't think it's.
anything, it shows they're human.
Yeah, that's right.
Stop putting them on this high pedestal. They're human beings just like the rest of us. They make a lot
Sure.
more money, but they're human beings just like the rest of us. You
Right.
know,
Exactly.
I think that, but I agree with you right there. I mean, why do I want to say? I mean, I don't watch news because, I mean, news today just is upsetting and worse. I think probably one of the biggest, if I want to categorize it as news, is that I follow is my sports teams.
Right.
Anytime transactions, people are injured, and that stuff I like to know. Especially,
and lately it's been great. That's been the best news of any kind of news.
Especially with you and I, we're both
right.
Patriot fans, so they've had a terrific off season, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to get going into the season. Nonetheless, to see what they can do in the draft. But for some reason that's the stuff. I mean, I don't take it. I mean, well, I take my sport seriously, but not that much. I mean, my team loses, they lose. It is what it is. But there's just people take things to a different extreme, and I think that's where a lot of problems happen. But I would personally like to see Gina Carano reinstated, just like Depp was. I think I
got to be honest with you. At this particular point, I don't think she'd go back. I think she's so angry that if they said, "Look, we really apologize, we want you back," I think she'd probably give them the finger. Because to be honest with you, she's probably going to do better financially. Because she wasn't really making that much for Mandalorian.
I think but no, she was supposed to play a very big part in Rangers, and I think to be honest with you, I think if Jon Favreau came to her and said, "We want you back," I think she would probably go to it. But anyone else within Lucas, I think she would. I mean, from telling the type of person Gina Carano is, I think she would just straight up give them the middle finger, right, and tell them to screw themselves.
Well, she's an MMA fighter. I mean, that's how she kind of lives her life. Is like, look, I'm gonna, I'm willing to punch somebody in the face, then I'm gonna be willing to tell people how I think, and if they don't like it, then tough. And people just don't. People can't handle that. They used to be able to handle it. It doesn't seem like people can handle, being honest or just being upfront and being different, and giving your own opinion. And a lot of people that there are a lot of people that have a similar opinion to her that aren't speaking out because they saw what happened to her. And that's kind of the thing that's upset, too bad about this whole thing, is that it's not just that she's not going to be on the show. It's a shot across the bow of her types of beliefs with other people that have similar beliefs. They're like, well, I can't talk. I can't lose my job. I mean, I don't want to be in a situation where I say something and, I got to feed my family, et cetera. She's obviously in a situation it's a little bit different than maybe other people, but yeah, I mean, I don't have a Twitter account. I wouldn't waste my time going on to Twitter. All it'd be was just a big headache anyway. So
I'm not a huge Twitter follower. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't do. I do it like I try to keep an eye with Funko with some of that stuff with the notifications. But I mean, I've even been the type where I've had Facebook for years, but I'm not the hugest, and that's why I've struggled so much with Instagram nowadays. But when Facebook was the one I was on for probably the longest out of anything, but I don't post a lot of things. I'm not. I know friends that make like 20 posts a day, and I'm just not that person. I'm more that person that looks to kind of keep up with what people are doing. Maybe make a couple comments. The most you'll see me, if you ever looked at my Facebook feed, my personal one, is you'll see a lot of reposting of funny memes or something like that. And that's what I do. I mean, that's the most, but that's the type I try to keep things loose and fresh and happy, and try to keep things as positive as possible. But I mean, as far as the Star Wars front, they're just, I mean, I think you said it earlier, they're just so much in flux right now that I don't think we're going to see anything coming out of the Star Wars front for a little bit. I think there were some shows that were supposed to come out, but I think everything's in flux right now because of everything that's going on.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think that they need to kind of, I wouldn't say go back to the drawing board, but at least kind of look themselves in the mirror and see what they really want to accomplish with these, other than make money, of course. But do they want to make great shows, or do they want to make a political statement, or what are we trying to do here? What direction do you want to go, and who's going to have the power and the control to do what they need to do? And at some point, if they keep pushing, then we may lose Jon Favreau, and then where would the Star Wars franchise be?
Sorry, he can come back to Marvel. Just come back to Marvel.
Marvel's doing fine without him. They need him over on Star Wars to keep that thing going. So
they do. They do. That's for definite sure. But like I said, I'd like to see him do better. But have you watched the trailer for the Black Widow?
Yeah, I have actually. When you told me, I hadn't watched. I'm not a big trailer watcher because I'm one of those type of people that. Well, I do. I like the trailers, but they seem to tell a lot. Like I'll watch the trailer, and like I'll bet you that's like the best part of the movie. They keep showing me the best part of these movies in the trailer. And of course you want to tease enough to get people to go. So I saw 2 trailers and it looked awesome. And I'm thinking, this is really, really going to be great. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So, I guess we'll see how, and I actually saw a video. I sent you the link. I don't know if you get a chance to see it, but it talked a lot about how it's going to tie into some of these other Disney Plus series, etc. And it's going to supposedly tie into the Loki series a bit as well, which I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I know this Captain America thing is you're all about it. It just needs to get over so we can get to Loki. Okay.
Did you watch? Have you watched episode 2 yet?
I have not. I haven't watched any. I haven't watched any of it. I told you I'm a binge watcher. I'm gonna wait till it gets over and I'll binge watch.
That's right. You're a binge watcher. I guarantee you watch this and you're gonna know. I swear by the second episode. When, of course, you haven't watched it yet. I'm not gonna get into it. If you want, you can come to the weekend show. They just cast everything so well and they plan everything out so well. I love this Captain America. Loki, I'm really looking forward to in June. But the only downside now with them moving Widow back to July is now we're gonna have like a 6-week break. Yeah. Before it was going to be cool because by the time Captain America, Falcon and Winter Soldier comes out, gets done, Black Widow is getting ready to start, and then when a couple weeks of Black Widow, then Loki starts. Now you're just gonna have that break, and now you're gonna have Black Widow playing in the middle of the Loki series, and you're like, man,
I don't want to be confused by all these things. I get very confused with these different storylines, and my wife is good. Like when we go to a Marvel movie, she's constantly leaning over and said, "Why did he do that?" And then I'm just like, look, I can't, I'm supposed to talk, well, in the comic book, well, in this movie, because you got to watch all the movies to everything ties together. And just like, it's too much.
That's kind of like talking about live streams with Wayne on Marvel. He just, it's like, wait, did you see that part yet? No. Okay. I can't, you gotta watch this to understand this part in order to get to that point. So there's so many different levels of it. My wife just doesn't try anymore. If she goes to a movie or watches a Marvel movie, she just watches it just to watch it. A few times, if it's really weird and obscure, she'll ask me a question. But nowadays, like I get like a lot of. It was funny because I think we went over to my mother-in-law's house the other day, and her sister's done it to me before, but her mom came and she's like, "Hey, I was watching that new." Show. Oh no, they were watching WandaVision, and then she started watching the first episode of Falcon Winter Soldier. And she didn't get it, so she's like, "Can you explain it to me?" So I basically said, especially WandaVision. It's like I was like, "You got a minute?" I was like, "WandaVision, well, that there's a lot of information there to process for what happened." I mean, I think WandaVision was artistically one of the best series I've ever seen, but. With this is picking up now. One thing you got to remember for you, have you seen all the Marvel movies?
I think so. There might be 1 or 2 that I missed in there. Yeah. I've missed. I'm trying to remember which one. Black Panther. I missed Black Panther, and I may have missed one of the Captain America ones.
So good.
I'm not a Captain America fan. I've told you this. It's you know what I mean. Just he's kind of nerdy. I don't know.
Chris Evans. Chris Evans is the man. I don't care. Chris, come on, he's a Boston boy. Don't give me that.
I know that from that perspective, I'm okay with him, but it's not him. It's the characters just kind of, I don't know. He's a little too straight laced for me.
Man,
there's not enough dark side.
Just wait till you get the. Maybe you'll like U.S. Agent. Maybe you won't, but I want to punch him in the face. I'm just saying that now.
He's the bad guy. Is that what you're saying? He's the bad guy.
It's hard to explain if you haven't watched it. And again,
Okay,
I don't want to say too much because I don't know who in the chat has seen it. So we leave that to the other one. But yeah, I will say Disney did fantastic casting on that, and as they usually do. Or more, Marvel did fantastic casting. But I think it's awesome. Now you do know as where the timelines of all these are, right? Or are you fuzzy on that?
Well, the Black Widow one is like it was before all of these Avenger movies, because they're kind of because she died, so it can't be after.
Yeah. It was not before all the Avenger movies. It's placed after the events of Civil War.
Okay.
So when they did Captain America, which was based on the third one, Captain America: Civil War, these are based off the events after that. Of course, everyone kind of went into flux because of the Soviet Accords. Stuff like that. So she basically went back into home. Now, I think the important part where I'm thinking they're going to go with this is I think the important part of this is because, yes, she's dead. Right. There's still questions that people may ask as far as the soul stone, because the way the soul stone works is you have to give a soul to get the soul stone. So essentially her soul is in the soul stone. So how did Steve Rogers put the soul stone back and not get his soul back? There's still a lot of questions by there, and maybe in time we'll eventually get that answer. But
so you think they're going to bring her back to life? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I really don't. I think that there is a point to that. I think it's important to leave her gone because the point she made so evident in making that sacrifice was very strong.
Right.
And I mean, it's kind of like saying, do you bring Tony back? You know, I mean, Tony made the ultimate sacrifice among all people, and you know, you can't take that away. I think if you bring him back, then you lessen that power that choice was.
Well, what's his name wants to come back, they're going to bring it. They're going to bring him back. You do know.
Now Downey is supposed to make an appearance in Black Widow. Of course, again, because he was alive, Tony Stark was alive during that time.
Right.
But I think the main reason they're going to go through this big thing, of course, is to more or less announce Taskmaster. Because Taskmaster, among a lot of villains, he's got to be one of my favorite. Guy's a badass. He's just a badass all around. And two, to really introduce her sister. I think her sister is going to play a part in the MCU in the future, maybe into Doctor Strange, maybe into even Avengers. I think they're really going to bring her in because they made it a point to really make her sister part of.
Well, she's not her actual sister. They just played sisters when they were undercover, correct?
No, I think this is her actual sister.
Well, the guy when I was looking at the thing, he said that they were just when they were
maybe it's possible
they're undercover. That like the whole family.
I think they're all
the actual family. Huh?
Yeah. No, you're. I see. I never. My recollection with the comic books for Black Widow aren't because I was never. I mean, I was a Captain America guy. I wasn't going out buying Black Widow comic books. So some of that is foggy, and I've been learning through MCU or their version of it. So yeah, that does make sense. Of course, the whole spy world was to create this stuff and things like that. Of course, her sister is also a spy, and going into that and stuff like that. So I think it's really awesome in that. But I think it was really to announce her. This is kind of like it's a Black Widow movie, but I think it's really to get everybody familiar with her sister.
What is her sister's character? Do we know that or?
The name I can't pronounce. I'm horrible at pronouncing.
Am I putting you on the spot here? Because I certainly don't know.
It starts with the Y. I've got the pop up here. I've got all the Black Widow pops. It's Yelena Belova, something like that. Is her sister's character. But I think she's going to come an important part because again, Black Widow is dead essentially. So her sister's going to have all the abilities that she has. Because she had all the same training and everything like that. So I think that's where I think that's the important part to Black Widow to take away from. Now, again, I could be completely wrong. I haven't seen the movie, but that's my perspective from the trailers. Now, I know you say you don't like watching trailers, but here's a great part about Marvel trailers, I always say, is you can't always believe everything in a Marvel trailer.
Oh, that's true.
Marvel, anything they've been known to do, they've been known to throw stuff into trailers that are never even in the movies. I mean, that's been a common thing for a long time.
Do you think they're doing that on purpose to throw you off, or they just haven't fully edited the movie yet?
They're doing it to throw people like us off because they know, like, I mean, just look at our show. I mean, on the weekend show, we analyze. You know, I remember. Okay, let me take it back, and I think I've told this story before. Is before I did YouTube and stuff like that, when Infinity Wars was coming out and Endgame was coming out. I remember going onto YouTube and I was watching all these shows that analyze these trailers and all this other stuff, that this is what could happen and this is what could happen, and you're analyzing it, frame for frame of everything, going into that much detail. And also you go and watch a movie, I'm like, it was all bullshit. That's what it was. It was crap. But I think to be honest with you, I think they do it because, of course, I mean, come on, YouTube nonetheless has become such a huge media aspect for people that I guarantee you there's so much stuff that we even analyzed in doing WandaVision, which I still think there's things that are going to come true that I have thought about. The events are still going to happen. They're still going to happen. Trust me. But there's some stuff I was completely wrong on. And I think they do that on purpose because of people like us. They're giving us content and we're analyzing this and you guys are all watching it. But again, we're analyzing these things going, we're no better than the weatherman. We're guessing.
Well, it's free advertising. I mean, it's building people's interest even more by, us or whoever talking about it and trying to say, that's really interesting, and getting people, talking. Of course, put things in the trailers that are either like hinting at something or it's the back of someone. You're like, who is that and who's that going to be? Because one of the things that my understanding is that they said in the trailer was they thought it was somebody else that is going to be in the movie, but they think it's not going to be. I don't know if it was Scarlet Witch. They think Scarlet Witch is going to be in the movie Black Widow, but somebody said no. They panned in on this person's face in the trailer, and it's somebody else that looks. Apparently, the actress looks a lot like some other actress looks a lot like this particular person. So they were, again, just kind of speculating on this or that. So, it looks really. I'm looking forward to seeing what is the guy's name? Red Guardian. The guy that plays Red Guardian looks really, really cool. You know what I'm talking about? The heavy set guy.
I don't know his actual name, but it's the same guy that played Hopper in Stranger Things. Red Guardian looks great. I think the whole thing looks it looks fantastic. Especially, the fighting in the air, from whatever explosion happened. Like I said, the Taskmaster alone, when I first heard that the Taskmaster was going to be the villain in this one, I was like, dude, I'm all for it. I mean, the Taskmaster is a badass all the way around. You got to think Taskmaster. You got to think, even more of a badass than the Winter Soldier was. And that's a level you're going to get. Level style assassin here.
Well, don't set yourself up for failure now. If you set yourself, your sights too high.
We're not. I'm not even going to bring up the name because don't even get me started on that.
Here we go, Batman. Let's talk Batman.
No. I'm trying to avoid.
When is that going to happen? Let's talk about that. When is that coming? I can't wait.
I don't even know a release date for that movie, but
I can't wait. Sounds awesome.
Shit, I'm not looking for. That's going to be a train wreck as it is. So
come on. I really think it's going to be better than you. I don't think it's going to be awesome. It's never going to be better than Michael Keaton Batman. But I think you'll probably find they'll be better than you think.
No. Oh, and mind you, I'll say it to a certain extent. I will always probably be biased to a little bit because I can't stand Robert Pattinson as it is.
What have you watched him in? I mean, Harry Potter.
I've seen him
So
Harry Potter. I've seen him in the Twilight movie.
He was fine in Harry Potter. I had no issues. He was in one.
Right. I mean,
he was in one. They killed him. He was in one thing. They killed him off, and that was the end of it.
But he wasn't a standout item. Of course, then when he finally got his standout thing, yeah, he found his genre. He found it. He's a chick flick actor. Stay a chick flick actor. Stay out of.
They're trying to bring other people other than people in their mid 40s like you and Wayne Coe. Not me. I'm younger than you, but trying to bring other people, younger people, into the tent here. And this is their idea on how they're going to do it, I guess.
I don't know. Maybe that's their genre of trying to bring these younger people into this, sure. But.
Well, that's the people they're going after. You and I are not the people that they're selling goods and services to anymore. They want to go after people that they think. And in reality, we spend a lot of money. I do. I'm buying a lot of Funko Pops and stuff like that. Probably more than the Zoomers and all these other folks. But they don't care about that. They're focused on that demographic, and that's all they're worried about. So
yeah. Exactly. But hey, sorry, I want to get back to a few things I said. Thanks for that. a lot of people listening there, Internet on here. I appreciate that little add in there. Bearded Barbarian was a Black Widow for a while in the comics. Did not know that part. Thank you, Jesse Lou. And he also did point this. I did know that the Taskmaster trained John Walker how to fight like Captain America in the comics. That part I did know. I don't think they're kind of. I mean, they could try to make that connection. Again, if you don't know John Walker is U.S. agent who I'll give you a little bit in the new Falcon Winter Soldier. They just announced a U.S. agent, although they don't call him U.S. agent. They call him Captain America. Long story, but essentially in the comics, he's. I think even the comics, I think he was called Captain America in the beginning. But yeah, the guy who they got.
So there are multiple Captain Americas?
There's been multiple. There's always been multiple Captain Americas.
Oh, I don't know too much about Captain America. I thought there was one.
No, Steve was the first, but there's been multiple, like Falcon for that matter. He's got a cap suit, and he was actually referenced, I think, at one point as Captain America when he eventually took the shield.
How can you have multiple captains? There's one captain. There shouldn't be a Lieutenant America or Private America.
Now it's not about the person; it's about the shield. Whoever wields the shield is a captain.
Oh, so one person steals the shield from the other person?
Essentially.
I see. Why can't they just make another shield? Can't they just make another one?
Because you got to go to Wakanda for that stuff.
Okay. Well, I mean, they got, they can go and do that. Well, what's his name? Thor got another. He went from a hammer to an axe.
But that's different. No, but see, with the shields are made out. I think and Jesse Lou's gonna hit me. I believe it's vibranium. That it's made of. Of course, is supposed to be the strongest steel of all the same thing that the Winter Soldier's arm is made out of. Although freaking Thanos had cut that thing down pretty well within in Endgame, but it's a shield. It's a symbol now. It's not so much Captain in the original case. Steve Rogers was the symbol, and then when Steve Rogers left, it was a shield that became the symbol. So the shield's a symbol, and whoever wields it is who the captain is. So it's more about after Steve left on, like I said, you could say Captain America is Steve Rogers, and that was true. When he did it, you didn't really. I mean, the shield was just the accessory. After it's now the shield has become the.
So where did Steve Rogers go? Did he retire to Florida?
Probably. Okay. They haven't, as far as the MCU goes, they haven't said what he actually. But of course, you've seen Endgame. You know that he changed his pass by staying basically like he never became frozen.
Gotcha.
And went from there. So because he wanted to live his regular life with Peggy, and go from there. But I mean, there's still possibilities that he still comes back. I mean, although we do know that somewhere we do know that Chris Evans has been signed on for 2 more appearances. Whether he's going to play Captain America or whether he's going to there's still multiple roles he could do, where with they're getting in the multiverse, he could even play an evil Captain America. Because there was at one point, I believe, a Hydra America or Hydra Captain, something like that, where he actually his suit had the Hydra logo on it,
right?
Which was pretty cool. Which I don't think he did that very often or very long. I think it was almost, if I remember correctly, man, it's been a long time now. I think he originally wore it as like a decoy, type thing. But
it's hard sometimes when people go from being a good character to a bad character. It can come off. Sometimes it comes off really good. Sometimes it just doesn't come off right. People can't accept it. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how if they do that, how he plays it to make it believable.
Exactly. Hey, Chase. Well, I didn't say I was doing cheers for these, but I'll do cheers for this. And thank you for becoming a member of Donut Life.
So what does that mean? You send them like a 12-pack of Krispy Kremes each month, or how does that work?
It depends on what level tier you go after.
Oh.
I've got 4 different tiers. So you could, if it's just the basic $1 one, you basically just get the icons. I think the $1.99 you're gonna get a shout out. Now, mind you guys, I was running late. It's been so busy this week. I've been meaning to make a proper outro with the names of the people that are on that level of the Donut Life. And I think I was starting to work on the outro when Bearded Barbarian, and I realized I ran out of time. So I'll do this real quick just to give a quick shout out to the Donut Life members of that area. Definitely give them some love. And go from there. But we have where's my Donut Life people? So I believe I have Jesse Lou and Andy Roberts are on the glazed donut level. And I got creative. I've got my different levels are, of course, the basics, just Donut Life. And then you get like the glazed donut level, the chocolate frosted donut level, and the jelly filled level.
Oh, the jelly filled. That's good. What if you got chocolate frosted with jelly inside? You got to get that kind of level. That's the best one.
Well, you get that could be interesting. That might be a whole new level.
Yeah.
I'm gonna figure that one out. But we'll see. We'll see. And again, Jesse Lou, appreciate it. So why didn't that click? Oh, I don't know what I just did. Hold on. There. No. Come on. Why isn't this thing working for me now? There he is.
User error.
Yeah, probably. Says again, thank you. Another cheers to you.
I'm getting loaded on this water.
Yes, it was vibranium. Loving the synopsis, Nail. I appreciate it. Hopefully I'm staying on. I love talking Marvel, especially when it comes to comic books, MCU, stuff like that. And sometimes I do appreciate maybe I don't see the level, but when I start getting into this stuff, man, I love talking about it. I love getting into it, and I love going. Like I said, I've got my I've got other people now. I even got a guy at work. He likes watching them, but he'll like when I see him the next week, he goes, "So, how should I think about that?" And I'm like, "Okay, so this is how it breaks down." Because he wasn't a big comic book guy, but he loves watching the Marvel series.
Right. I haven't read comic books in such a long time that like I used to collect them when I was a teenager in high school, and believe it or not, that was a few years ago. So I've really sort of missed out on a lot of things, and I collect some comic books, but I don't really read them. So
one series that is out right now that I'm absolutely loving. Oh, by the way, I forgot this is still on my desk. By the way, this is when U.S. Agent came back. This is a reprint, so it's not original. But this one right here, and I think I've said it a couple times. I am absolutely loving this series, and I can't wait for issue number 3 to come out. But it is the Eternals.
Oh yeah, that's
this is the new series of Eternals, and then I just recently picked up issue number 2. Both of these are variant covers, which I always love. But that read it, check it out. Thanos even shows up in one of them because, of course, Thanos was around at the time of the Eternals. That's how old he was around for. But it's a fantastic series. If you guys want a good one to check out, that's the one I recommend right now is Eternals. But what levels, Chase? Sorry, I was getting back to that. If you go into when you go into the join, you should be able to choose different levels. I think again, Donut Life is basically just the icons. The glazed donut, I think, gets you the shout out. I can't remember what I did for all of them. I know one of them, you get like a member only, once a month, member only live chat where I'm doing giveaways and stuff like that to the people that are just members. So apparently, I think he found it because now it says I got 2 new YouTube members, but it's to the same person. So I think he must have upgraded his. Let me upgrade this and see if I can see what.
You got to go with the glaze. If there's a glazed donut and a regular donut, who the heck is taking a regular donut? You got to get that glazed. You go all in at that point.
Yeah, it looks like he upgraded the glazed donut. So again, he's on the level of the shout out. So again, give a shout out to Chase's Kingdom. Definitely get over there, check him out. Give a shout out to Jesse Lou's Comics and Pops. Get out, check him out, and then of course our good friend Andy Roberts from the UK. He's not a YouTuber, but he's just a fantastic supporter of the channel. So yes, he's on the glaze level now. I had fun. To be honest with you, when I was building those, I had fun. It's kind of stressful at first because you're trying to build the different tiers and you want to be able to give people something, valuable for the money that they're helping support the channel for. But I did that. In fact, I was actually talking to Andrew from the Luau a lot to get a lot of ideas and stuff like that. And I ended up reworking a little bit of my Patreon as well. Added a couple new tiers to that one as well. So I'm happy overall with it because I figured, it might as well throw it out there. Some people are going to want to support more than others, and either way works for me. Yeah. So, and anything that people want to support, I'm all for it. But back to Marvel, because I love, me, I love talking Marvel. I got my captain shirt on today, by the way.
You have it on all the time. You said today. Every time we have the live on Friday, you got a captain shirt on.
I have 2 different captain shirts, by the way. I have 2 different captain shirts. And
they're identical. They look exactly the same.
It's a shield. I mean, they all look the same.
Well, it could say Captain America. It could have a face on it, or I don't know.
I did see one that I saw at the Marvel store at Disney Springs the other day that I really want to get. It's basically, you wouldn't know it unless you've seen the series, but it's basically just a green shirt with a yellow diamond on the front, and it was basically to be like the Halloween episode of WandaVision of the outfit that the Vision wore. I recognized it right away, and but a lot of people may look at that and go, okay, I don't know, is that Marvel? I don't know.
Well, it's one of those inside things. I guess it's when you walk along, someone's like, hey, I know what that is. So you have a kind of an inside thing. I don't know. Yeah,
exactly. But like you said, I think Black Widow is definitely going to be good. I think that's the main reason, especially if we're doing. I mean, you would think right now, while they're trying to expand, the next level, why would you do a prequel? Well, right. I think you're going to do a prequel because essentially, it's a character introduction that is going to be important later on. Right. Yeah.
Well, you want to sort of fill in these gaps. You find out, people are interested in, like when you do these Avenger movies, sometimes maybe they find out that the people really like this character and we hadn't thought about maybe doing some. So you backtrack, you fill in the gaps for people that want to see more about these. And then sometimes they'll find that maybe people weren't as interested in a particular character as another, and they might not want to do that. But I think that, they're doing a good job trying to fill in the universe, because there's a lot of ways they can go in a lot of different areas, and to backfill some of the areas.
Well, the universe is going to get bigger in time because you have, now that they got X-Men and they got, Fantastic Four back under their belts. Especially just X-Men alone. I think the hardest thing they're going to have with X-Men is who to recast as Wolverine. Because Hugh Jackman just did such a fantastic job with Wolverine that it's going to be hard to find somebody, and everyone's always going to be comparing whoever plays Wolverine to Hugh Jackman. But in that same note, a lot of people said the same thing about Blade. But I think, although we haven't seen a new Blade yet, I'm all for the character that they had. I'm not going to try to say his name because it's a long freaking name, and I'm just going to beat it up. But the guy he played, I'm all for it. I think he looks the part. I've seen his other roles. He's a fantastic actor. I love the move, and I love the choice of that. So I think it's going to be a fantastic move in there somewhere, and the other big thing that I'm really wanting to find out, of course, we know everything's kind of gotten pushed back now. The Black Widow had got pushed back to July because originally July was supposed to be Shang-Chi. But Shang-Chi got pushed back 2 months to September, which I still think puts Eternals to release in November correctly. And then you've got Spider-Man No Way Home coming out in December. And then there's another one at the beginning of next year. I can't remember right now. I think I went through it last week. But he's going to push all of them back a little bit. But I think the biggest thing right now is to find out, that I want to see is we've gotten finally a name for the new Spider-Man installment. But who's going to be the villain?
Yeah, I guess there's a bunch of different places they can go with that one. So are they going to rehash, or are they going to go with some new ones?
Well, I mean, especially when it comes to Spider-Man. Spider-Man had one of the most epic amount of villains of any comic book character ever. But I agree with Jesse Lou. I am hugely excited for Shang-Chi. I do remember watching Shang-Chi, or not watching, but reading some Shang-Chi comics because I was always a kid. I loved watching Kung Fu movies. You ever watch Kung Fu movies?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, it was all about those Kung Fu movies, ninja movies, and all karate. I mean, they would it was the thing. It was it's kind of like Marvel movies now. In the 80s and 90s, it was those, and they were awesome.
And I loved them. I ain't going to lie. Karate Kid put me right into that. Then you watch Karate Kid, you're like, I need more. And then you find some more old school Kung Fu movies. You're like, this is awesome. And then you get into, and then I remember one of my favorite 80s movies of all time. And you may know this one, but one of my favorite 80s movies of all time. Hi. My daughter wants to say hi, by the way.
Hello.
One of my favorite 80s movies of all time up there is The Last Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
With and then that was a Barry Gordy film on top of it, which I thought was fantastic. That movie was just awesome. I mean, come on, when he's telling the dude to kiss his Converse, I mean that was awesome. That was epic. But I mean, I love that. So Shang-Chi right there is right up with me. I think I can't remember the actor's name, but I like the choice that they made for it as well. I still think that we know at some point we're going to see a lot more Deadpool.
Yes.
Because Ryan Reynolds signed one of the largest Marvel contracts of all time. And I think Shang-Chi may have the best opportunity for the first cameo of Deadpool. But, of course, being as Deadpool, Marvel's going to keep that as hush-hush as possible.
Sure. Yeah, they want to make that the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It'd be interesting to see what they do. Like I said, my guess is they're going to do like what they did with Stan Lee with little bit parts. But my guess is they're going to probably want larger parts than that because, I mean, they're paying a premium for this experience. So I'm sure they want to try to get as much out of it as they can. So it will be interesting to see what they decide to do with these.
And I agree with you, OTT. I do like how, a lot of people were really originally criticizing Marvel doing TV shows, but it's really painting a much bigger picture. And I think that's even going to do it with Star Wars. You're going to still have the movies, but I think doing the TV shows, it allows you to paint a much bigger picture of the universe in itself. Because, with WandaVision was basically set right after the events of Endgame. I mean, almost right after it. And then Falcon Winter Soldier is now set after the events of WandaVision. So, it's just, like I said, instead of waiting from every 3 months, I mean, it's great that every 3 months we get a new movie. But with that being said, I think getting the TV shows fills in those gaps a little bit more to kind of tell us a little bit more of what's going on with this. Because, of course, you always sometimes leave a movie. Like I remember when, I think it was Avengers 2, and, Cap comes out and said, Avengers Assemble. and you see, like Vision and Scarlet Witch and stuff like that. Well, I mean, you're going to assume they're going to train, but you don't know what's happening in between there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
and I think you're going to find that other movies or epic films, they're going to do more of this with TV shows. Like, I mean, they're already going to do something with Harry Potter, where they're going to make a TV show out of it on HBO. I mean, they did it with Cobra Kai from Karate Kid. I think you're going to find
such a good series too. It's such a good.
I haven't gotten into it. I really want to start watching it. I was just like, okay, there's already 3 seasons. How far into this am I going to get?
What's funny about that is, you remember watching Karate Kid as a kid, and you loved it. And of course, everyone was all about Ralph Macchio back then. And with Cobra Kai, it's like you never wanted to, root for the bad guy from the movie so much,
right?
Because you realize how that, that was like his peak of his popularity was that point, and then they just went downhill from there. So you want is that feel good, bring back from the grave type of feeling. So you want to feel good for the bad guy, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think that it's one of those things where it's easy, back in the old days, you would see, this person's the good guy and this person's the bad guy. When you see a lot of movies now where there's, a little bit of good and bad in all of the characters. And I mean, you think about it, Ralph Macchio and, the Karate Kid, he did steal the other guy's girlfriend. Okay. So it's not exactly he's the most, nicest person in the world. And, there are some redeeming qualities to some of the bad guys too. And, and ultimately at the end, the bad guy ends up saying, you deserved it, whatever. So I think it's interesting. I think it's definitely interesting. And I definitely want to watch it, but
it's definitely
trying to dedicate time to it is a different story.
I would agree. I definitely would agree with you. Now, Kung Fu, the legend continues. Hey, I'm all for doing more Kung Fu movies. Bring Kung Fu back.
Yeah, cool.
Right, the Multiverse of Madness is going to be off the chain. That movie next summer is going to be crazy. That I've been telling people. I think that new Doctor Strange movie, we're building up to it. They're telling a lot of storylines. They're building up, especially bringing in the Eternals, because the Eternals, of course, is going to be way before any events that has ever happened in the MCU, as it is. But it's an important story to tell and to get in there and go from there. But, I think all this is going to culminate up to this, right? At least in this first, where are we, phase 4? In this phase 4, Doctor Strange is going to blow up phase 4. I think it's just going to, because now when you get in the multiverse, now you're opening up all kinds of different possibilities.
Sure.
I'm interested to find out what they're going to do with John Bernthal's Punisher. We all know they've not re-signed him already.
That was one of my favorite characters, because I was more, when I was reading comic books in the 90s, I was more of the anti-heroes. I wasn't really a super hero. I was more I liked Batman, and I liked Punisher and Lobo and some of those characters that, like I said, they're not always good characters or bad characters, and they don't really necessarily have superpowers necessarily.
Well, they don't even care just about being good or bad. They go by their own moral code.
Right.
And I think that was great with Punisher. And I mean, we've had many installments of Punisher, but John Bernthal, I mean, he made that character what I imagined it was when I read it in the comics. Mm-hmm. He did everything about that. He had the moral code for that. He had the moral code where even when you thought, people were caring for him and people were going into that, he's just like, I don't care. I'm just going to go and just mow everybody down. And that was a great part about it. And they've got to be bringing that same level up there, because Bernthal already said before he signed with MCU that the only way he's going to bring back, the Punisher is if it's done right.
Right.
He's built a character to that level. He wants to keep it. And as well as they've also re-signed the guy that and I said it here before, they signed the guy who played Matt Murdock in Daredevil on the Netflix series, which was fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, I never saw that.
That was
what's what's his name sort of ruined Daredevil for me. I got to be honest with you.
Oh, don't get on Affleck about that. And trust me, and that was the biggest part. Is I mean, especially with Daredevil, that was the biggest disappointment with that was the fact that Daredevil, if you read the comics, was a very dark character.
Right.
He was a very dark character, and the Affleck movie, because they want to make it PG-13, made him a lovable character.
Right.
I don't know. I don't see Daredevil was a badass, and I didn't see him as a lovable character.
Right.
He just wasn't.
It's one of those things where I think that it was partially the acting, but I think, just like you said, the studio sort of meddles and things and says, well, we got to make this PG-13. And they take something that maybe would have been much better movie if they had just said, look, this just needs to be an R-rated movie. We just need to do the best we can. Imagine what they would have done with Deadpool if they had sort of turned it into a PG. They turned it into a PG-13 for that other one. What was it? And that was okay. But if you had just turned the entire film franchise into PG or PG, it wouldn't have been nearly as good as what it is.
No, but I don't think a guy like Ryan Reynolds would have done it any other way. I mean, really, is there an actor in Hollywood that you could think today that could play that epitomizes Deadpool as it is? I mean, Ryan Reynolds. No. I mean, I've watched many Ryan Reynolds, even his worst one, which was the Green Lantern. I'm sorry, that was horrible. But every actor's got that one movie that they regret doing. And I know as much as he makes fun of that choice with Deadpool, right. I don't think I could see anybody in the world playing Deadpool. He just plays that role so incredibly well. But yeah, I don't think he would have wanted. Because I mean, come on, if you know him from the comics, he was always. I mean, he cussed in the comics.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and just like something like I said, I'm hoping they'll do it like a Lobo movie. But it's we're going to be really needs to be rated R. You cannot do something like that in another way. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm one thing I would like to see them do is The Crow. One of my favorite movies was The Crow, and I don't know. Maybe it shouldn't be redone because Brandon Lee did such an awesome job, but I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, Brandon Lee. I mean, I rest in peace for him. Definitely a sad thing, but I mean, I remember watching The Crow. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great movie. I mean, he would have had a long career. He would have had a very long career had that incident not happened, whether it be accidental or what most people think wasn't accidental. I don't know. But Brandon Lee was going to have a big career ahead of him, especially after that role. And then everyone they did after that just kind of sucked. I
didn't really even watch them after that because it just wasn't the same. So,
but Brandon Lee was fantastic. Now Chase did say Marvel Zombies movie. I agree with you. I think they've already been talking about something like that, but it's going to be an animated movie and not a live action. Although live action could get interesting. So who knows? I mean, they kind of did a horror movie with New Mutants, which I haven't seen yet, but I heard it was pretty good. And then just want to know when Galactus is going to end up on the big screen. Screw the giant clouds we saw last time. And Fox Sheep. Galactus is coming. I guarantee you. Silver Surfer is coming. The moment we see Silver Surfer, Galactus is not far behind. So I think he'll show up, but I don't think we're going to see him more until maybe the end of Phase 5. To be 1,000% honest with you. And stuff from that. So, but yeah, trust me, I want to see Galactus show up on the big screen just as much. But I think that would be fantastic. But there's so many characters out there nowadays, especially with Marvel, that like I'm rooting for when we get into Phase 6. I'm rooting for Secret Wars. I want to see that black Spider-Man suit show up. I want Secret Wars. And I know the Russo brothers does too, as they said that if they do another Marvel film, it's only going to be Secret Wars. And it'll be a two-parter again, I guarantee it. But Secret Wars, I'm all for that one. That whole story was fantastic. But there's so many different storylines. I mean, you got you got Marvel from the early 40s.
Oh yeah,
the golden age all the way up through. I mean, of course, you had the great Stan Lee telling the storylines. I mean, so you got a whole bunch of different. But I will say,
and they're still making characters. Have you heard about these latest characters that they've made?
Which one?
I saw a video. I saw it, and I had to turn it off. It gave me such a headache.
One of
They
the
made
most,
these, huh?
one of the most recent iconic characters, I think, and of course she's coming to the MCU is Miss Marvel. But I mean, they're always going to make characters regardless.
No, these were spin-off characters of existing. They said they were all new characters, but they were basically spin-off characters, and it was absolutely horrible. And this person has a TikTok account, and this person has it's sort of aimed at Zoomers, and I just thought it was really weird. I didn't really get it.
The only one, and okay, maybe this is probably the most recent character is Miles Morales. I love Miles, by the way. I think Miles is awesome. And you could probably play that because Miles is, of course, a younger kid and could play into that area. Chase, I hope this never happens, to be honest with you. It says, I wonder if they'll CGI Stan Lee into the movies that will be coming out. And I actually don't agree with that. Stan's a icon and a classic, and his cameos are, just fantastic. But I don't think. Leave Stan where he is, and I think a lot of classic Marvel fans would agree with me on that. I think if you start CGI putting him in there, I think a lot more people would complain about it. I would be one up there with doing that. I don't think you should CGI Stan. Stan's dead, unfortunately. He's a legend among legends, and his legend will live on through the comics.
Well, I think early on they didn't really like the idea that he required them to put him in the movies, like those bit parts. And early on, I don't think they liked that idea. They didn't really want to do it. But I think it ended up being a thing, which I think was really, really cool. They put him in cooler. Like early on, he just kind of plopped him in there. They turned him into actual kind of fun characters. So yeah, that was, but I agree. I hope they don't.
It became a thing that the fandom looked for.
Right.
The fandom waited somewhere within the movie to find out where Stan was going to show up. It became a thing. But like I said, you can't replace an icon like that, even CG. I mean, it's just, you can't do it. And I think there's a place and time for CG to a certain point. I mean, that's just like when they did that little bit with Paul Walker for the Fast and Furious series, where it was basically his brother playing the part. They just CGI'd Paul's face. Because it was very little bit, and it was a way to end the story for him. That I'll accept that. But at this point, no, I think Stan, I think in the end was happy the way the what he created was going with, and I think, and like I said, that's probably my biggest downside is I never got a chance to meet him. I mean, living in Vegas, he was out there doing signings all the time, and I never went. It's probably my biggest regret. I wish I could have met Stan Lee at some point, but it is what it is. But it's all right.
It would be cool to get like a signed Funko Pop Stan Lee. I know he signed some, but of course now you'd have to be real careful you don't get some fake or something.
There's
like
a lot
that,
of fake Stan Lee signatures out there right now, especially since his death. It just increased a lot more.
Oh yeah.
So, but like I said, Marvel, they're always gonna innovate. They're always gonna do it, and I think other than maybe Thor: Dark World, I don't think they've ever disappointed. Thor: Dark World was probably the only movie I think in the past 10 years I can go, I could have done without that one. But I could have done without it, but there was definitely things within that movie that was very important to be able to move on and tell parts of it. So it had its place, but it wasn't probably to me, it was the worst one so far.
Yeah, I think most people had issues. I think maybe with Captain Marvel. I think a lot of people didn't like that one. I thought it was good though. I didn't have any issues with it. Yeah, but there were a number of people I think that for whatever reason didn't. I don't know if they didn't like what's her name that played Captain Marvel.
I think a lot of that was I think a lot of people didn't like Brie Larson, but I think Brie Larson played that role very well. I wasn't upset with her by any means, and I don't think she's a bad actress. I mean I think she's a fantastic actress, But I think a lot of that is because she's had, again, it's a Twitter world and stuff like that. And I think she may have said stuff in the past that pissed people off or whatnot. She's kind of a, from the interviews I've seen of her, she's kind of a unfiltered type of person. She's going to say what she means and mean what she says and stuff like that. So, she doesn't really care about your feelings, I guess.
Right.
And some people that's going to make you like her, and a lot of people that's going to make you hate her.
Yeah. Like I thought she did a decent job. I mean, it's hard to keep one-upping yourself when you have Marvel makes so many movies. I mean, one can't always be better than the next one. So it's sometimes you'll have one that's really good, and if it by itself it would probably be an awesome movie, but then you compare it to other Marvel movies in the Marvel universe, and you say, well, I liked Thor Ragnarok better than this one over here, or whatever it is. I mean, when you're comparing, you're always gonna have one better than another. But yeah, I thought the Avengers movies were some of my favorite ones. The last two that they did, and I enjoyed, of course, the Deadpool movies, etc. Those are some of my favorites. And when they first came out with, I'm having a brain fart here. With I'll think about it. The guy that was the tree and the little dude,
Groot.
and
I am Groot with Vin Diesel.
Huh?
With Groot with Vin Diesel.
Well, I meant the whole movie. I'm just having a senior moment. You know what I'm saying? I'm pulling a Biden here. Okay, help me out. Okay, bail me out. But you know what I'm talking about. That movie when it first came out, I was like,
older than you. Come on.
I know. Well, it's not just about the age; it's about what's going on up here. But at first I was like, I'm never going to watch that. It looks such a stupid premise because I wasn't really into those. But when I saw it, it's one of my favorite movies.
Well, Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy. They were strongly, when they announced that one, they were strongly criticized about doing Guardians because you got to remember Rocket Raccoon was probably the first character of the Guardians to even get introduced in the MCU, or in the Marvel universe, and he had many comic books with just Rocket as it is, and the Guardians of the Galaxy comics were very underrated comics. I think they weren't very popular comics and stuff like that, and everyone criticized MCU and Kevin Feige for why are you doing Guardians? Right. It's not make a big point and stuff like that, but he proved that he could make that successful, and then on top of it, they were an important part to the storyline,
right?
So just because basically, I think what Kevin Feige proved with Guardians is no matter if it was in the Marvel universe, small or large, it's an important part,
right? Yeah, for real. Yeah, so it's one of those things. Sometimes those unexpected movies are some of the best movies, whereas the ones maybe you thought would be really awesome maybe weren't as great as maybe you'd hoped. Because again, it's about setting expectations, like the Batman movies, for example. You got expectations, you got them way up here. You got to bring them down just a little bit.
I think if that ever comes out, or even if I watch it. And I rewatch it when
you've got to watch. You're not going to watch it. Are you serious? Of course you're going to watch it.
If I ever do a reaction movie, or if I ever do a reaction video, or even do a live reaction video, it's going to have to be to that movie.
Yeah, you should do it the first time. Now you can't do it after, like you see it once and then you do a reaction. The first time you sit through it, you need to do that reaction video at that point. That way you can say, "I was wrong." You know what I'm saying?
I do dread if I have to say that, but I will fully say that I would stick by if it was halfway decent. I would retract my comment. I still am very confident that will never happen.
I see. So you're rooting for it to be bad. At this point, you're actually rooting for it to be a bad movie.
Well, I have
because you want to be right.
I've made such a level and a case that Robert Pattinson is such a horrible actor that it has to be bad for me. But that's just what I'm saying. But hey, again, I will go into it. I will tell people that when I watch the movie, whether I watch it in the theaters, whether I watch it home, or whether I watch it live with you guys somewhere. I may have to do. Of course, I can't show it on the screen.
Right? No, of course.
I could set up. I was always thought about this, doing a live video. I mean, it'd be like a 3-hour, or 2-hour long, live stream, but watch it with you guys at the same time and get my reaction. I'd have to do something with that, but I don't know. It's. I wouldn't go to the theaters to watch it. Oh, I probably would just at this point because I've made such a big deal about it. But I don't know. Like I said, we'll have to wait and see. We don't know. I don't even know when the release date of that thing is going to be. I don't even know. Is that Batman? Is that Universal? Or is that Time Warner?
I don't know. It's going to be on HBO. I mean,
that's why I'm wondering if it's going to be on HBO. Then I'll definitely do a reaction video at the same time and everything like that. So I think that could be interesting. But we'll definitely have to wait and see. But I don't know. My main preference is the fact, and mind you, I want to see Batman movies good. I like the character. I think the character of the Dark Knight is fantastic. I hate
if it's better than the Batman Returns, or no, not Batman Returns, Batman and Robin. Yeah. And one of those, even if it's better than that, but not as good as the other ones, will that set an expectation better than you think?
Mind you, now, okay, I'll put it this way. A plus expectation. Now, mind you, I'm already putting, I still think nobody on the planet can do as bad as George Clooney. I'm sorry. Nobody on the planet can
I think Val Kilmer was worse. I really do.
I put Val Kilmer one notch ahead of George Clooney.
I don't think
anybody can do worse than George Clooney did. Okay. So I'm putting Robert Pattinson right in between George Clooney and Val Kilmer.
He hasn't even done anything.
He hasn't done anything. Just by his trailer alone, I'm putting him right in between.
So if he hops over Val Kilmer, if he's better than Val Kilmer, but not as good as any of the other ones, you'll be wrong and say that was a good movie. Is that what you're saying?
No, he's got to not only hop over Val Kilmer, but he's going to then hop over Affleck.
Well, that shouldn't be that hard, do you think?
Well,
I'd lump all three of them. Val Kilmer, Clooney, and Affleck are basically all the same, on the same level.
At this point, for you, rate your Batmans. And we're not including Adam West in this because we're talking movie Batmans, not TV show Batmans. Because Adam West is in a league of his own.
Right.
So rate your Batmans, worst to best.
Worst to best?
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, I guess I would say Val Kilmer's worse. And then Clooney, then what's his name? Who did we just say? See, Affleck. I think they're basically the same. I don't even necessarily blame them as much as the writing for these movies. The writing was horrible in these movies. Anyway, so I would say those, and then you go to trying to remember who the other Michael Keaton's the top one, and then what's his name is the second.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale will be second, and then then you have Michael Keaton by far. Yeah. To me, he's by far the best. Christian Bale was good, but I didn't think he was as good.
I agree with you. I think Michael Keaton is the best Batman of all time. To me, hands down. Again, we're not talking about Adam West here. He's in a league of his own. But if we're talking the movie size, it's got definitely Michael Keaton. But again, you got to give Michael Keaton two different ways because that Batman he also portrayed was also directed by one of the darkest guys you could think of.
Danny Elfman.
No,
he did the music.
He did the music. It was
shoot.
Why can't I remember his name right now? He does also. He's always.
This is like a live at a nursing home. We have terrible memories. What is this?
I know. Jesse Lewis.
I need the cards like Biden had. Biden had all these cards with writing on them.
Tim Burton.
There you go.
Is a man of darkness. Now that was a benefit that Keaton had was that he had Burton there to film or direct both of those movies, which were already dark. So he really pushed on that. And then, of course, then with Val Kilmer, of course, Burton stopped doing it. But I still rate it as Michael Keaton, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, Val Kilmer, and then George Clooney. Yeah. And then
Like,
of course, now I
to
put
me, those last three are all the same. I mean, it's just like they're interchangeable. And I'd even forgotten about Ben Affleck. That's how bad he was. I didn't even remember he was Batman. So I don't know. Like I said, to me, the writing was just horrible. Joel Schumacher basically ruined the franchise,
I agree.
which is unfortunate.
Schumacher was probably the worst thing for DC that ever. I've got some hopefulness for what Zack Snyder is doing with this Justice League. Because I've always liked Zack Snyder films. I think he's a fantastic director, and he sees things in a much different way. So I'm all for it. And mind you, that's a DC movie, and I'm hopeful for it. I would love to see. I'm a fan of the Flash, but I think that their casting of Ezra Miller was poor. I don't like Ezra Miller. I don't think he's that great of an actor. Maybe he'll change my mind when it comes to when they do his own Flash movie.
I never really liked the Flash. I mean, he just really ran fast. I mean,
that's probably my favorite character, my favorite DC.
Really?
Flash, yeah.
He just runs. He just runs really fast. He doesn't really do anything else. He's just like, oh, somebody's chasing me. I can run faster than them. I mean, come on.
Spin the world in reverse and reverse everything.
Superman can do that, and he can fly too.
Forget Superman.
Forget
Superman. He's the number one person.
I know he's the number one person.
Really fast, and he's really
powerful. He's a speedster. He's the man.
Yeah.
Right. Batman's really the best DC character, and I think we all know that. Superman's okay. I was never really into it. He was just, I mean, he could do too many things good. It's just like, okay, just this whole thing, Superman against Batman, it was a ridiculous premise. Superman was definitely going to win.
Oh, yeah.
And what was that? I mean, it's just like, oh, they're evenly matched. It's a rich dude in an outfit and a god, basically. Yeah, I don't really see that was an even fight.
Unless that suit's made of kryptonite, it ain't going to do nothing.
Right, exactly.
Weak. But as far as Superman goes, I was never huge. I mean, Christopher Reeves did a fantastic portrayal of Superman back in the day, back in the 80s. But I was still never a huge Superman person, even as a comic book kid. Yeah. And I mean, but I will give it though. Any comic book person has to give Superman credit because I'm sorry, Superman started it all.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, with Action Comics #1. He's on the cover of the very first comic book. So you always have to give credit to Superman. Now, I agree with Jesse Lou here. Batman isn't a superhero.
Right.
Exactly. I would almost consider him as an anti-hero, almost like the Punisher, but he just doesn't kill everybody.
No, he's not really that type of a...
He's just a vigilante, really. I mean, he's just a, mercenary vigilante, and some good stuff. And like I said, these are the kind of characters I liked more because again, it seemed more real than Superman, etc. But yeah, I don't I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I really think this is my prediction that you're going to think that the new Batman, what's his name, is going to be better than the three others, and he'll be below Christian Bale. But there in the middle, that's pretty good.
I'm going to put a poll on my thing sometime this week on where we think Robert Pattinson is going to fall in the Batman lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
you got to include everything now. Charisma is a part of it now. Charisma, charm, winning smile. All those things are part of Batman. So,
not when you got the cape on.
Well, I mean, he's not going to have the cape on the whole time. Part of the time he's going to be
because you and maybe that would be the only. I could see Robert Pattinson playing a halfway decent Bruce Wayne. I'll give him that. Portraying that rich guy. Although I think one of the best guys that actually portrayed, if we're talking about best portrayal of Bruce Wayne, I would say Christian Bale had one of the best portrayals of Bruce Wayne. Of this cocky, just over rich, guy that has a great company but doesn't really care to wants to basically let everybody else run it type stuff and grab all the money. I think Christian Bale would have one of the best portrayals of Bruce Wayne. Now that could be.
I don't know. I liked Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne. You didn't like Michael Keaton was quirky. He was a little off center. Like this person is a weird person and sort of a dark person. Christian Bale, I just seemed like, yes, I mean, I thought he was good, but he seemed just like an angrier version of Batman. He
seemed like an angrier version if Tony Stark was Batman.
Right.
If that makes any sense. That just rich playboy, type of person. And that's what Christian Bale had portrayed.
That's what we need to have, crossovers, like Iron Man versus Batman. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you. I know, and there's been
Marvel and DC get together, make this thing happen.
No, but there's been DC and Marvel crossovers in the past in the comics. It's happened. So and the storylines are there. There has been crossovers. But I think as far as movie wise goes, I'm sure DC would want it because then there'd actually be a halfway decent DC movie. But Marvel's like, I don't know if I want to keep DC. But again, it's also up to the fandom. There's people like myself who, yes, I'll give credit to certain DC characters like a Batman, like a Flash, stuff like that. But I'm a Marvel guy, But
there's room for everybody. Can't we get peace and love, man? Peace and love.
There is. As far as the comic world goes, I will still say, and I think they need to hire. I think DC movies needs to hire the DC comic writers because I will still say to this day, I think DC Comics has some of the best storylines.
Mm-hmm.
The storylines in DC, I mean, are awesome, especially some of those newer Joker comics that have come out.
Right.
I mean, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Why can't DC hire these people to write the damn scripts?
I guess they're not script writers. They probably bring in script writers thinking they would know how to adapt this to that. I would think they would at least start maybe with something that somebody wrote in a comic book, and then, maybe those people could work together, but it doesn't seem like they're that interested in it. They think they have a formula. I just don't think it's that great of a formula. I think it's an okay formula. Occasionally they'll hit with some of the Batman movies, and there seems to be a lot more misses than hits.
Yeah, I mean, the Christopher Nolan series was definitely a hit. Yeah. But I mean, really, if you could think about other than Christopher Nolan, what are their DC item? I mean, I seen Aquaman.
I was going to say I kind of liked Aquaman. It wasn't awesome, but it was okay. I thought it was good.
Okay, I thought the ending battle was weak. I mean, I
you didn't like fish. You don't like fish fighting. Come on now.
It just seemed, especially when they got to the land. And it was just like that. And you want to see more from an ending battle of a movie. And to me, it was just kind of weak, to be honest with you. And then, because at that point, it's like, well, now you got the most powerful Triton. Of course, you're going to wreck his other Triton. It's the most powerful one out there. I mean, come on. It's not rocket science.
It's like that a lot with a lot of things, isn't it? Somebody's got, something more powerful than everyone else, and somehow they struggle.
Yeah. It's like, now Shazam was pretty good. I did like Shazam. That was a well written, well done movie.
The interesting thing about Shazam that I thought, it reminded me of a Marvel movie because it like a lot of the DC movies are dark and there's no humor in it at all. It's almost like a drudgery to get through these things, and it just seemed more of a Marvel-ish where it was some comedy in it and they brought some funny elements, and I thought they had some good characters. I thought it was good. I liked it.
I did like Shazam. I've got some big hopes for Black Adam. I'd like to see how that one develops, but like Wonder Woman 2, horrible. I think I bashed that one up and down.
I never saw it.
Right.
Yeah, you ruined it for me. I was going to watch it. I was prepared to go upstairs and watch it after the live, and you completely ruined. I was like, I'm not going to watch that.
If there's anyone to reason to watch that, is for Pedro Pascal, because he played his villain portrayal of that character was fantastic. That was it. That's the only saving grace in that entire movie.
Was he in it a lot or just a little bit?
He was the main villain.
Oh, was he?
So it was a decent amount, but it was like I said, the whole premise of the movie was just, especially how they brought back the boyfriend, and it was just it was weird. It made no sense. Made no sense at all. So I didn't like it. But yeah, Shazam, I'm hoping for that one.
Are they going to do another Shazam? Are they going to do a Shazam too?
I think that's where Black Adam's supposed to come into play.
Oh, is that was going to be? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where Black Adam's supposed to come into play. But I'm real hopeful for that. As much as I don't like Ezra Miller, I will give him an opportunity to see what he can do in a full-length movie. To see what it is, but I'd scrutinize him just as much as I do Robert Pattinson. But I think I would be more interested because it is the Flash. I'd be more interested to see it than.
I probably won't watch it. I don't like the Flash.
Yeah.
Too much running. Slow down.
The other question is, as for DC, and I know they've kind of ignored it because it's been one of those, let's push this under the rug for a while. But he was also part of Justice League. Do you bring back and redo the Green Lantern?
Too soon.
He was part of Justice League.
Might be too soon for that one.
I think they're missing a big character not having the Green Lantern in Justice League, but you got to recast that and redo that. I mean, but that's like taking, to me, if you did a new Green Lantern now and did it right and did it well, that could almost be on the level of, remember early 2000s when they had the Hulk movie with Eric Bana?
Right.
Horrible. I mean, it was embarrassingly horrible.
I didn't care for
it. Nobody did. I don't even think the people that made it.
Eric Bana thought it was pretty good, and his mom probably thought it was nice. So,
it's funny. He wasn't even in the movie all that much. It was the funny part. And then, of course, they brought out the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, and it was fantastic.
Right.
So I think that could be, and it's now at the point where I think they could, if they cast it right.
I think it's smart sometimes when they have these movies that they want to try to put that character in another movie in a bit part and see if people like the character. What about that? Instead of just doing a movie just on Green Lantern sounds like a bad idea because there's so many ways that can go wrong.
Here's what Jessica says, and I didn't even know this. I'm gonna have to look into this. Is that there's going to be an HBO Max show for Green Lantern? Okay, okay. I'd be for that. And he did also say that I guess he did watch the 4-hour movie. I haven't watched it yet. Says Snyder's Justice League is a real big improvement. Well, then again, the bar was set incredibly low with how bad the original one was. So, but then again, it's Zack Snyder. I was expecting a big improvement. So, but buddy, you know what? I'm tired. I've been up since. Well, I had a little bit of a nap earlier, but I've been up since last night. So,
well, you're older and you need your rest.
So I need my beauty sleep. Definitely need my beauty sleep.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Bed.
You can just see my eyes and me yawning. That's how tired I am.
Oh dear.
It's always fun, having you on here. I think you and I.
I know. I was the light of this whole thing. You know that
exactly. Right? You made it all.
That's
work.
why all these people are here. They're not here for you. They're here for me.
But you and I can go on for hours among different topics. So we definitely. I appreciate you coming in and hanging out with me. I know you always take the jab, but I wasn't late this time.
You didn't sleep. That was great. I appreciate you not being an hour late. That was great. We set the bar pretty low. You know what I mean? But I do appreciate it.
We definitely kept the bar low on that one.
It was fun. Anytime. I appreciate you having me on.
All right. But thank you guys for coming. I do appreciate it. Guys, also, if you haven't gotten a chance, I know Slush did earlier, and Christina had put the links up earlier, but please go out there, hit up Bearded Barbarian. I know he's getting close to 1,000. I think where are you at right now? I can't remember.
865, something like that.
You're getting close, man. You're getting close. So let's get this man to 1,000. He deserves it. Definitely check him out. He's got a great channel. He's got some of the best thumbnails that I've ever seen.
My wife will appreciate
that. I've got my work is to try to get to that level of thumbnail work. So I definitely appreciate it.
My wife put me on a guy that's ripped with abs and stuff like that, and I looked at the thumbnail. I was like, "What is that all about?" She's like, "Oh, I thought it was a good picture." I'll bet you did. Well, maybe one day I'll get there. Most likely not.
Now she's gonna have that picture above her desk, and you have to look at that every day. Go, damn.
Right. As long as it's not over the bed, we'll be fine. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, you have a wonderful night. I appreciate it, guys. Hit up Bearded Barbarian. It's fantastic. Before I let you go, what you got anything good happening? Any giveaways coming up? What you got going on?
Yeah, tomorrow will be my giveaway video. Every Saturday I do a giveaway. And just go over there, and all you got to do is make sure you're subscribed. And then actually this week I did something different where I put pictures up in the corners, and I created a pictogram where people have to kind of assemble, different pictures and then make a phrase and then just send me on Instagram, and then I'll put everyone on the wheel that picked something, and we'll pick somebody and give them a pop or a soda. And normally it's just you just subscribe and a comment, and that's all you have to do. We tried something a little bit different this week, so
that's definitely cool. Well, hey, again, thank you for coming on, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me late. I know on the East Coast it's getting a little late, so I want to thank y'all for hanging out with us on Saturday. It's Friday, not Saturday.
we keep going. Friday. 2 more hours, it will be Saturday.
Pretty much. But y'all have a wonderful night, as I always like to say. As you guys know it, do what you like, do what you love, and always unleash your inner nerd.
Bye.
Y'all have a good one.